All right. And speaking of doing whatever you want, and I know that's kind of how you set your life up, which is awesome. But to take that notion to the extreme, if you got diagnosed with a horrible disease, and I try to think of a better way to ask you this question, which isn't like majorly depressing, because this is, but if you got diagnosed with a disease that was going to kill you in a year or 18 months, what would you do with those months?
So I role play this all the time. Not because I want to dwell in the darkness, but this is part of the rehearsing the worst case scenario. So not only do I rehearse this for myself, but I try to spend time around people who are going to die. And when I get back to the Bay Area, I actually want to volunteer in a hospice center to contend with that. There are a few things. So I would get my affairs in order relatively quickly. They're already largely in order so that my family would be taken care of. And to be honest, and there aren't many points in my life where I could say this, I would largely keep doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think that I stopped, for instance, the tech investing about 2 years ago because I felt like I was replaceable. I felt like if I, in a sense, didn't participate, there were 100 other people in line who were going to step up and write a check. And that wasn't a unique opportunity nor a unique skill that I held to hopefully put into the world to benefit people in some way. But all the ludicrous experiments, some more practical than others, and the podcasting and so on, I feel like I'm putting out the best work that I can. And I think I'd keep doing it. I'd certainly, and in the last few years, I've, after reading an essay, I think it's called The Tail End, by Tim Urban on Wait But Why, about how effectively by the time you're 18 and leave the house, you've spent 80% of the total hours you would ever spend with your parents. I've reorganized my calendar and my year to spend a lot more time with my family, meaning my parents and my brother. And I think I'd keep doing what I'm doing, honestly, until I lift, end up in a pile of dust, which is where we're all ending up.
That's where we're heading sooner or later.
Yeah, exactly.
I was listening. I keep wanting to do this. I want to, when I'm listening to certain podcasts, sometimes I want to just live tweet, like when I'm having thoughts about them. And I do it with Rogan sometimes. I go, man, I should just be live tweeting this. Because sometimes when he had, who do you have on? Oh, when he had Sam Harris on, I was just, there were so many things that they were saying that were just hilarious to me. And I wanted to live tweet. But when you had Shay Carl on, at one point, I can't remember his quote. There was this, you got to this topic, and you of what you would do, and it wasn't the same question. But it was somewhere in the same thing. Maybe it was about money, and you got enough money now, or it was something along those lines. And kind of at the same time, he says something like, just imagine being able to spend all this time with your family, and then you said at the same time, cocaine and whores. And I was like, I wanted to live tweet that. I was like, that's gold.
Yeah, Shay and I had spent a couple of days together.
Yeah, and, classic.
And which, just for those people who don't have any context, he's also raised Church of Latter-day Saints, Mormon, Utah. And so I was like, cocaine and whores? Which is the nature of my podcast.
I thought that was classic.
It's the little things.
Yeah, that was another one I wanted to live tweet because he was saying some really classic lines in there as well.